Could there really be a realistic scenario where the Jets could lose 3 of their remaining 5 final games, including the ones to Buffalo and Miami, and yet still make the playoffs? There really is. I'll show you how. Well, welcome back to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watu-K99. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to watch these videos. If you enjoy what you're watching, clicking that thumbs up is a great way to show it. And if you haven't already, I have a favor to ask. Please subscribe to the channel. And if you already have subscribed to the channel, maybe share it with a friend, somebody who else might enjoy this content as well. My goal is to get up to 400 subscribers by the end of December. I'm getting there, not quite where I want to be, so I really want to get that push going. Thank you again for helping me out. It means a ton to me. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about the Jets and these remaining 5 weeks in their chase for their first playoff berth since 2010. Now, after the loss to Minnesota, I was feeling pretty deflated, kind of like a Tom Brady football. But the late games went pretty dang well, didn't they? That's right. The Chargers lose to the Raiders. The Dolphins lose to the 49ers. And because of that, the Jets are still in the 7th spot in the AFC playoff standings. But I decided to go a little bit deeper into this. Now, when I was younger, many years ago, when the Jets were regular playoff contenders, you could go to Yahoo, you could go to ESPN, and go to the playoff scenario generator. Go to the playoff machine. You could type in all the different scenarios. If this team wins, how does that affect the playoff bracket? And with all the crazy tiebreakers, it's a pretty useful tool. You know, even when the Jets aren't in it, I enjoy, clicking around with different scenarios on that machine. I guess I need to get a life sometimes. But now the Jets are legitimately in it, and I decided to go through a bunch of different scenarios to see what would happen. And I decided to be a little bit negative. I figured, well, a lot of us are thinking that the Jets have to get to 10 wins to get that wild card spot. You know, there's really 9 teams in contention for 7 playoff spots. The Jets are currently 7-5. It's really going to take 10 wins to get there. So that would mean now going 3-2 in their last 5 games. But I decided, what if the Jets only won 2 of those games? Could they still have a chance? And then I went one level deeper. What if the Jets lost both of their division games remaining at Buffalo and at Miami? Is there a realistic pathway for the Jets to make the playoffs? And I'm here to tell you, there is a realistic scenario. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put up a couple of different graphics on the screen, and we're going to look at the current playoff standings. Then we're going to break down weeks 14 through 18, the different games, okay, with all the relevant teams that are involved here. And then we're going to talk about any relevant tiebreakers and what the final playoff bracket would look like. So the first thing that I want to say, first and foremost, I did this based off winning teams percentage. So I plugged it in so that Team A plays Team B. If Team A has the better record, Team A gets the win. So by no means are these my predictions for what's going to happen. I want to make that very clear. This is just to show that there is a very realistic scenario of how the Jets can make the playoffs, even if they aren't, absolutely killing it over the last couple of weeks of the season. So first, let's take a look at the current AFC standings. Now I'm going to show you the current season record as well as the conference record. So in first place, you've got the Buffalo Bills at 9-3 overall, 6-2 in the conference. The conference record, of course, is the first tiebreaker, as long as head-to-head is not involved. With your second seed is the Kansas City Chiefs, 9-3 overall, 5-3 in the conference. Then you have the Ravens, 8-4, 5-3. They have the tiebreaker over the Bengals right now due to head-to-head. Then you have the Titans at 7-5, most likely the winners of the AFC South. Good chance they're going to be locked into that 4th seed, but we'll find out. Then at the 5 seed, the first wild card, you have the Miami Dolphins, 8-4 overall, 6-2 in the conference. The Bengals, who I just mentioned, 8-4 as well, only 5-3 in the conference, so they go down a peg. 7 seed, you have the Jets. They are 7-5, 5-4 in the conference. And then at the 8 and 9 seeds, you have both the New England Patriots and the LA Chargers of San Diego. The Patriots have the edge. They get the 8 seed because they are 5 and 3. Okay, so right now the Patriots and the Chargers just one game behind the Jets. All right, so now let's talk about Week 14. Now, I'm not going to talk about the Chiefs and the Titans. Those two teams are all but certain to win their divisions. So while I'm going to simulate their games and whatnot, just the games we're going to focus on. We're going to focus on the 4 division teams in the AFC East. We're going to focus on the Bengals, the Ravens, and the Chargers. So really 7 teams. Okay, it's really 7 teams for 5 spots. So that's how we're going to do this. So Week 14, I've got the Bills beating the Jets. So the Bills go up to 10 and 3. The Jets go down to 7 and 6. I've got the Dolphins beating the Chargers. Okay, now that's a big one. But I am going with the Dolphins over the Chargers. So Dolphins go to 9 and 4. The Chargers slip below 500, down to 6 and 7. And remember, the Chargers have an amazing ability to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Also, the Patriots beating the Cardinals, not too much of an exaggeration. The Bengals beating the Browns. You know what? Even with Deshaun Watson, the Browns did not look too good last week. The Bengals are really clicking. And right now I've got the Ravens over the Steelers. All right, let's flip over to Week 15. So now we've got the Jets getting the best of the Detroit Lions. That's a win against an NFC team, so it doesn't help the conference record. Then I've got the Bills beating the Dolphins, so that knocks the Dolphins down a peg. Then we have the Patriots beating the Raiders. Patriots go up to 8 and 6, kind of stay on pace. Then I've got the Titans beating the Chargers. That's going to be a big, big game. That is a big AFC loss for the Chargers. That would actually be their second straight AFC loss. Okay, so those 2 games, the Dolphins against the Chargers and the Titans against the Chargers, are very important for this working out. Okay, Chargers go down to 6 and 8, and then in the AFC North, I've got the Bengals over the Bucks and the Ravens over the Browns. Okay, so now Week 16. So now the Jets and the Patriots are tied, by the way. So right now the Patriots would have the edge over the Jets for the 7th seed. So now we go to Week 16. So I've got the Jets getting a 2-game winning streak, knocking off the Jaguars on Thursday Night Football in those very nice black uniforms under the bright lights of MetLife Stadium. I've got the Bills laying waste to the Bears. That takes them up to 12 and 3. At this point, this would all but clinch the AFC East for Buffalo. Then I've got the Dolphins over the Packers. They go to 10 and 5. The Bengals over the Patriots. Big one. That takes the Patriots down and 1 game behind the Jets again. All right, so that's a big one. Then I've got the Ravens over the Falcons, and then I've got the Chargers beating the Colts. So the Chargers are still kind of staying in the mix, but the Patriots have taken a very tough loss to Cincinnati. All right, so that leaves us with 2 weeks to go in the season, and the Jets are back to the 7th seed by 1 game over New England and 2 games over the Chargers. Week 17. Now I've got the Seahawks beating the Jets. Tough one to call. The Jets could definitely win that game, but I've got the Seahawks winning that one. That takes the Jets back down to 9 and 7. Then a big one, Dolphins against the Patriots, and I've got the Dolphins winning that game. Again, this is based off winning percentage, so that keeps the Patriots 1 game behind, puts the Dolphins up to 11 and 5. Then I've got the Bills beating the Bengals. Then it's the Ravens over the Steelers, which, by the way, puts the Ravens into first place in the AFC North. And I've got the Chargers beating the Rams, so the Chargers are now back up to 8 and 8. Now it's getting a little dicey. Now we're coming down to 1 week left to go, but the Jets are 9 and 7, and both the Patriots and the Chargers are 1 game back, and we all know the Patriots beat the Jets twice this year. If the Patriots finish tied with the Jets are going to get the shaft. Okay, so now it's 1 week left. Week 18, and remember, it's all interdivisional games. So I've got the Dolphins beating the Jets in this game. So that's the Jets finishing 2 and 3, actually 2 and 4 if you want to include the loss this past week to Minnesota. But that's losses against Miami and Buffalo. That would really, really put a sour taste in Jets fans' mouths, and it would clinch the 5 seed for Miami. And the Jets would finish at 9 and 8 overall, 6 and 6 in the conference. Sounds pretty scary. But the Buffalo Bills come to the Jets' rescue. They beat the Patriots in Buffalo. Then they go to 14-3, do the Bills. The Patriots go down to 8-9. They finish one game behind the Jets. The Patriots are out. Go home, stay in Foxborough. We don't want to see you anymore. And then you've got the Bengals beating the Ravens. So that would clinch the AFC North for the Bengals based off tiebreakers. That's just how I have this one going. And that would take the Ravens back down to the 6th seed with an 11-6 record. And then the Chargers beat the Broncos. And that would take the Chargers up to 9-8 as well, right alongside the Jets. So the final standings for the AFC, based off this exercise, would look like this. The 1 seed, you've got the Buffalo Bills at 14-3. The Chiefs at 14-3, but the Bills win that based off head-to-head. So the Chiefs go down to the 2 seed. You've got the Bengals at 12-5, but again, they get the better of the tiebreakers with the Ravens. The Titans, they clinched the 4 seed. It feels like they clinched it in October already. But the Dolphins have the 5, the Ravens have the 6th, and now we have to deal with the tiebreaker. The Jets and the Chargers, they're both 9-8. So they have identical records. They did not play each other. Head-to-head does not come into account here. So now we go to the conference record. Both teams finished 6-6. So that's not enough to settle this last playoff spot. So what do we do next? We have to go to common games, which could be a little bit of a tricky exercise, but I'm here to help break it down for you. So in the 2022 season, there are 5 teams that the Jets and Chargers both played. And let's put them on the screen right now. They were the Cleveland Browns, the Denver Broncos, the Seattle Seahawks, the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Miami Dolphins. All right? Okay, so the first thing I want to point out here is if you see an asterisk, that means that is a projected game. It does not mean that it has already happened. All right, so let's go through the common games here. So both teams played the Cleveland Browns. Okay, so both the Jets beat the Browns and the Chargers beat the Browns. That makes both teams 1-0 in common games, so they are tied. Next, we're going to talk about the Denver Broncos. Well, the Jets beat the Broncos in Mile High Stadium many, many weeks ago. They beat Brett Rippon and company. However, the Chargers played the Broncos twice since they are in the same division, and they've already beat the Broncos once. But we are also projecting the Chargers to beat the Broncos in Week 18. So there is one projected win there. So at this point, the Jets are 2-0. The Chargers are 3-0 in common games. Now on to Seattle. Now the Seattle Seahawks have already beaten the Chargers. So now that takes the Chargers down to 3-1. And we're projecting a Jets loss. So now the Jets are down to 2-1. The Chargers still have the edge. Next, we're going to go to the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we are projecting that the Jets would defeat the Jaguars. Okay. And the Chargers have already lost to the Jaguars. So now that changes it up. Now the Jets are 3-1 and the Chargers are 3-2. And the Jets have a better percentage at this point. So now they have the lead. And the final team is the Miami Dolphins. Well, the Jets have already beaten Miami once. And I'm projecting them to lose that last game in Miami. But we're also projecting that, and this is the big one, that the Chargers lose to Miami. So if that happens, you have a final common games record, the Jets at 4-2, the Chargers at 3-3, and that would be enough, ladies and gentlemen, to get the Jets into the playoffs. And what would happen in those playoffs? Well, the Bills would have the 1 seed. They would play the winner of the Miami Dolphins at the Tennessee Titans. And then on the other side of the bracket, you'd have the New York Jets traveling to Kansas City to Arrowhead to take on Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. What a game that would be. And they would play the winner of the AFC North showdown between the Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. Sounds like a pretty intriguing bracket. Now, by no means is this the ideal scenario. Of course, as Jets fans, we want more. You know, we want to get a higher wild card. There might still be a chance at the division. But if that's going to happen, no doubt the Jets are going to have to knock off both Buffalo and Miami. As a matter of fact, it might take winning 4 games, very possibly, for the Jets to clinch the AFC Eastern Division and host that elusive first home playoff game, the first one in 20 years, the first one since MetLife Stadium was constructed It is possible, but the whole point of this exercise is even if the Jets lose to Buffalo, even if they lose to Seattle, even if they lose to Miami at the end of the season, there is a very realistic way that they could qualify for that first playoff spot since 2010, and it can't come soon enough. Well, I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this exercise? How good do you think the Jets' playoff chances are? Are you thinking division's a possibility? Are you thinking wild card's a possibility? Do you think that they'll miss the playoffs and leave a lot of Jets fans extremely disappointed? I want to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you back here with more content from you know where, the Wicker Chair.